This video is a guide for using the SwimSmart Beach Commander application. SwimSmart Beach Commander application is the main control panel that the system users can use to perform functional changes, configurations, basic functionality, add and remove users, as well as track data streams such as the National Weather Service forecasts. Opening up the app will bring you to the login page. There is a username field, password, which is hidden, and then remember me on this device. When this is checked, it will retain your information. If you remove it, it will clear it the next time you open the application. At the bottom, forgot username, forgot password. This is a way of recovering your username, which if you don't know your office ID, your state zone, and beach name, just contact SwimSmart. We can help you recover your account. If you do know this information, you can enter it directly and then enter the email address that the account was initially registered with, and it will send you an email with your username. The password, very similar. Enter in that information, but also then enter in your username instead of the email, and it will then send you the password to that registered email. It will actually reset your password. We do not store passwords in our databases. We use a third party, so we have no way of seeing your password. It's automatically reset whenever it's recovered, and we are not able to access those passwords in any way. So fortunately, the only way to forgot your password is to reset it and then recover your account from there. So logging in, you'll get the loading icon, which is basically our little lighthouse that indicates that the page is loading. This is an example of a account that has 4 devices. This example will go over a new feature, water quality feature in the SwimSmart application. As you can see at the top, you have the header with 3 bars and the logo. The logo does nothing, but the header opens up the menu. One thing I would mention is this video is recorded at release of 25.6.15 software version. So anything beyond that is subject to change or versions preceding it. So we have 4 devices here. We can filter by. You have to set the group in the configurations. I don't have any groups assigned, but you could theoretically set these 3 whitefish 1, 2, 3 to the whitefish group and then peninsula to its own group. And then if you drop down here, it'll filter by and only show the group that you are filtering. The refresh button at the bottom right corner here, the little spinny orb, if you click that, it will refresh the page. It will message all of the devices and collect new information. Please note that the home page does not update dynamically, meaning you have to explicitly press the refresh button for the lights to update unless you were to close and open back up the app or press the refresh button. So this is not in real time. Now, there's a similar way of refreshing the stream at the bottom. If you see NWS, Wisconsin Zone 22 with a date, timestamp. If you click it, it will refresh and show the forecast. That's the same way as clicking the spinny orb for refreshing the devices. So refresh, refresh, pretty straightforward. There is a delay on the spinny. I think it's configured to 3 minutes, 2 minutes today, as of today. The reason we do that is because these devices typically are connected to the cellular network. Looks like it was 60 seconds. So 1 minute. The problem is if it's flooded with messages, it can become overwhelmed and it can cause issues. So refreshing at a high rate is actually, it can have negative effects on the device. It's not recommended, so we throttle it to 1 time per minute. We do not recommend refreshing greater than that. Honestly, if you're having an issue with the device at any time, contact support@swimsmarttech.com with a screenshot of whatever issue you're having, and we will address it immediately. If you find yourself refreshing because something's going wrong, just contact us. Again, if it's following the forecasts and you're expecting to change a lot, the forecasts are really only between 1 and 20 times a day. It varies very dramatically based on the weather office. So it's not going to be changing very rapidly. So anyways, coming into a device, if you press on any of these, it opens up a drop down. You can see some grayed out icons and a dark icon. On the left is audio, weather station, camera, phones, life rings, mesh devices, and then basic configuration. So all of the devices or all of the icons that are grayed out at this point, this device is not equipped with those features. I won't go into all of the features today. We're going to keep it focused on the basic functionality, which is the gear. Entering the gear takes you into the device configuration page. This allows you to access basic parameters of the light system. So you can set the hazard level. This is a scrolling dropdown. It's very important to mention that this dropdown, when you open it, it appears as if there's only 3 options: off, red, yellow. Well, where's green? Green is down here. So just keep that in mind that the dropdowns in the application are scrollable if there's more fields below it. So that's very important to keep in mind. Now, I won't go into yet why there are 2 fields. That is the new water quality feature. But for a lot of standard devices that don't have the water quality feature, this set water quality level will be grayed out, similar to the marine light, the pure light, and the enable audio. And only this drop down at the top, the set hazard level, will be on. When that's the case, you would just simply click one of these colors or off, or NWS stands for National Weather Service, and then the light would change accordingly. If it's set to off, the orb will be gray. If it's red, yellow, or green, it will be red, yellow, green, respectively. And if it's set to NWS, the orb will match the data stream at the bottom of the app. Now, the text is white for yellow orbs, and it's green and red for green and red. So right now it's moderate risk, which is yellow, but the text is white. So just keep that in mind. As you can see, there's a little cloud icon with a lock with a lightning bolt going through it. That icon signifies that the device is following the National Weather Service. If that icon is not present, like on Whitefish 1, that means the device is overridden. What that means is the device has been changed to a color other than what the Weather Service is saying. Even if it actually is the same as what the Weather Service is saying, it is effectively overridden, and it'll stay that color forever until you change it back to National Weather Service. Now, keep in mind the devices will keep track of the National Weather Service forecasts. So when you set it back to National Weather Service, it will use the most up-to-date color. So you don't have to worry about keeping track of that. It'll update automatically, but know that when it's overridden, it will stay that color forever. That's very important. There will be situations where you may find that the National Weather Service is inaccurate, or there's some emergency event happened and you want to set the color manually. Well, then you just set it to off, red, yellow, or green. Those are the overridden colors. And then NWS is the autonomous mode, which is following NWS automatically. Off, setting it off manually is considered overridden. This is not sleep mode, which I'll get into in a minute. Setting it off explicitly overrides it to off forever. The light will never turn on. This is useful if it's the end of the season. You can turn the light off. But other than that, off isn't really necessary. So moving on, we're not going to cover water quality level or any of the grayed out features yet. Scrolling down, again, everything in the app for the most part is scrollable. Before we go down there, at the top, you have the same header, but you see a red icon, the name of the device, a status, which the 2 statuses are online and offline, And then in the case of when water quality is enabled, like here, this last label will show. And again, I'll come back to that. I won't cover that right now, but just know that label that says DWNC red, WQ green, NWS yellow, that will not show if WQ level is grayed out. So that's important to understand. There's then 3 buttons. Reset. Resetting will, like it sounds, reset the device. When a device is reset, it can take up to sometimes 30 minutes to fully come back online. Depending if it's a poor cellular connection area, it could sometimes be hours, but typically, on average, it's 5 minutes. If it has a good cell connection, the device should almost immediately reconnect, and within 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, the device will be back online. In some extreme circumstances where the device has very poor connection or runs into some issue rebooting, it may take multiple cycles for it to fix itself. Configure will take you to the configuration page, which I will get to in a minute. And then ping, if you press ping, it will send essentially an empty message, just checking in on the device. And then it will return a pop-up that says how long it took to send a message out to the device and then for it to respond. So it took 3 seconds to go each direction, or 6 seconds round trip. At the bottom here is just some information about the device. The serial number of the device ID. Signal is how many cellular bars it has. Cellular bars can be a little bit misleading. It can fluctuate quite a bit. We have devices that have 1 bar and are fine, and we have devices that have 4 or 5 bars and don't connect. So take that with a grain of salt. Boot is actually how many times the device has reset. Another number to take with a grain of salt, a lot of the devices from the factory have 600-700 reboots. So just, take it with a grain of salt. A lot of the other values below that aren't really relevant. It's more just CPU performance. It's a way of indicating if something's going wrong. Really not relevant to daily operation. But then there's one label at the bottom, uptime. That's how long the device has been up since its last reset. Now, a device resetting is normal. A device, for the most part, a majority of our devices experience resets at some point. And that's just inevitable. Cellular networks go down, there could be bad weather, there could be congestion, devices run into issues, they need to be reset. So at the end of the day, don't freak out if you find that your uptime is not 365 days. That is normal. However, if you find that your uptime is constantly 1 day or constantly less than a day, that is an indicator that something's wrong. So just keep that in mind. And again, you can contact SwimSmart support by clicking this. There's our email if you have any questions or need support. So clicking configure. The device configuration page, this is almost never used. This page is meant to set the device up at the time of installation. Now, there may be circumstances where you need to change some of these parameters, but for the most part, this should be done at the time of installation and should not be touched unless the device is upgraded or moved from a location or some other parameter needs to be changed for some reason. The device name is what displays throughout the app. So it's important to put a very descriptive device name. This just says Whitefish 1. It's not very descriptive. It could be better. You can add more details in the description beyond the name. You can add contact information. So we'll go over in a minute, adding and removing users. So you can have cross-organizational users. You could have users from different departments, different government entities, private entities, what have you. And maybe having contact information of the device owner may be beneficial. If you click configure group, it'll open a pop-up and now you're able to enter a new group name. So we could do test name. And then if you click confirm, it'll add it to that group. And then coming back here, the group will say test name, where it says no group assigned. And then the drop down will say test. So when you filter by, it will only show that has that group. And then what happens is this drop down is populated with that created group. So now you're able to assign more devices to that group. The device stack is another, one-time thing. It depends on which colors you have in your sign, and the order matters. So the stack goes from left to right. If you set red, yellow, green, it will be RYG. If you set red, yellow, green, double red, or closed, it will be RYGC. C is for closed. So this is more of an installation, integration feature. If you don't know how to use this, contact SwimSmart. But this should only be done if a device is installed or upgraded. Features, same thing. Only if a device is installed or upgraded should these be used. There's various features that the devices can be upgraded with based on the two different product segments. Enabling them will cause the device to have undefined behavior. So the device will not operate correctly if one of these is turned on when the feature is not actually connected to it. So for instance, if it doesn't have a camera and then this is turned on, it will cause, undefined operation. So I would not recommend touching these features as well unless you're performing an upgrade and you know what you're doing. SMS enable is not a fully completed feature. SMS enable is the ability to text message devices. However, we find that SMS is not entirely reliable with our devices. Our devices can literally get spam texts, same as anyone's cell phone. You get spam texts all the time and it can cause issues. So we do not recommend using this as a default method. It's expensive, it is prone to errors. We use it in error correction and debugging. But we do not recommend using it as a daily method. DHCP is for internet connection. So if you have hardwired internet like an Ethernet coming into the device, you would turn that on. Now we're getting to the two new features that are being discussed, which is water quality enable and override water quality. Water quality enable enables the water quality feature. So the water quality feature is the ability to issue open advisory closure, high, moderate, low risk, what have you, red, yellow, and greens based on water quality testing data. So for a lot of beaches, they suffer from, unfortunately, rip currents and water quality problems. And there's really no way to have a cohesive way of having the health department, the National Weather Service, the lifeguards, the beach managers, all collaborating with one drop down, one hazard level. So what this does is it turns on that second drop down and it allows the health department to enter in their red, yellow, and greens independent and parallel to the National Weather Service or the beach managers based on rip currents. So coming back, at the top, the label says DW and C. That refers to dangerous waves and currents. WQ refers to water quality, and NWS refers to National Weather Service. This is a way of comparing what is the hazard level or dangerous waves and currents set to. This is set to red. Water quality is set to green, and National Weather Service, again, at the bottom at the spinner here, is yellow. So when water quality enable feature is on, by default, if that feature is on and override water quality is off, it will compare dangerous waves and currents or the set hazard level drop down here with water quality, this drop down here. So these two drop downs are compared to one another, in which whatever one is greater, it will set as its color. Now, an important thing to mention is if this is set to National Weather Service, the dangerous waves and currents will follow whatever the weather service is. So if this red were changed to NWS, it would make the color yellow because NWS is yellow at this time. So that allows the device to autonomously follow a National Weather Service while simultaneously allowing the health department to enter in their colors, and then it'll pick whatever the higher of the two is. Now, if override water quality is on, if this slider is on, when hazard level is overridden, remember, overridden means it's set to anything other than National Weather Service. Right now, it's overridden because there's no cloud icon. It will override even the water quality level. So it does not compare anything unless it's set to NWS. So if hazard level is set to NWS, it'll compare just as before, like we previously discussed. If override water quality slider is on, and hazard level is set to anything other than National Weather Service, it will override as if the water quality level was not even there. Now that may be valuable for beaches where they know they're only going to set it and forget it to Weather Service, and in some strange event where they have to override it, they want it to be that color. However, if that slider is off, remember it compares the two drop downs. So if you want to manually set it to a specific color, you would have to set both of these drop downs to the same color, because otherwise it's going to pick the greater of the two. So that's really what override water quality is meant to do, is it's meant to provide some flexibility for different use cases. Some beaches may want it on, some beaches may want it off, but water quality enable has to be on for that water quality feature to function. If override water quality is on with water quality enable off, it will do nothing. Just completing the thought here on the device configuration page, you have coordinates. If you click this and click populate, it will enter in the coordinates of that is in your phone. You can set a time zone based on where the device is located. The bed and wake time is in military time. So you have 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. So the light will turn on at 8 a.m. and it will turn off at 10 p.m. So from 10 p.m. all the way until 8 a.m. in the morning, the light will be off, regardless of the color, regardless of the National Weather Service, regardless of the water quality enable, all of that. Now, it will keep track of the weather forecast. It will keep track of everything. However, the light is turned off to mitigate light pollution, to to indicate that the park is closed, what have you. In the case that the system is powered by solar, we may require a certain number of hours a day that the light has to be off. So just something to keep in mind. The buzzer at this point is an end of life feature. It has been changed, so nothing to worry about there. So we've gotten through all of the, we call this config 1, we call the other page config 2. We've gotten through all of the config 1 page. The only thing that we kind of skimmed over and now we're coming back to is water quality. So remember that the labels at the bottom there, DWNC red, WQ green, NWS yellow, that will not be there if water quality enable is off. If it's on, it will be there, because remember, we're comparing them to see which one's greater. So it's good to have that information so that you can follow it. The set water quality level dropdown will be grayed out if water quality enable is disabled. So if water quality enable is disabled, it will be off. Now, enable marine light, which is purple, enable pure light, which is a separate light, and the values that are present in this dropdown, as well as the water quality dropdown, are dependent upon the device stack. So if a color is not present in the stack, it will not be available as an option in config 1. So if it is, for instance, RYG for red, yellow, green, P for purple, and then C for closed, double red, it will be RYGPC. Well, then you will have double red in this dropdown, and the enable marine light slider will be enabled. So keep in mind, if you find that for some reason the slider you need is not working or the value you have is not present, that is probably why. unless you're just not scrolling down, which is very common. Anyways, that concludes that page. And just note that all of these devices access the same page. It can be scrolled up and down. Just a little more information on the devices. So each row is a separate device divided by a line. There is, again, the orb, which signifies the color. But then there's an icon in the orb. Again, the cloud with the lock and the lightning bolt is National Weather Service. But as you can see on Peninsula 1, there's a little bottle-looking icon, and that's a flask. That flask is meant to signify water quality. So why is this important? Well, for devices that have water quality enabled, there's really 3 states it can take. It can take overridden, meaning there's no icon. It can take National Weather Service, and it can take water quality. Remember, coming back to the label here, you see 3 values, DWNC, WQ, and WS. Water quality is this drop down, that's the flask. If the color is set based on this drop down. If it's based on the hazard level that is anything other than NWS, it will have no icon. And if it's set to NWS, and that happens to be the highest of the colors, then there will be the cloud icon. So the icons allow you to determine pretty quickly, why is the color the way it is? Well, if there's no icon, you know it's overridden. If there is a cloud, you know it's because of the National Weather Service. And if there's a flask, you know it's because of water quality. And again, if a device is set to NWS, it will change over the course of the day. And it's good to keep track of the icons to determine why is a device the color it is. Now, keep in mind, only one icon will appear. So if the icons, if the 2 values are the same for National Weather Service and water quality, it will use the cloud icon. So even though the values are the same, it will default to the cloud icon. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so moving on, we've basically covered a bulk of the functionality of the app at this point. The only thing really left is some ancillary features for device management, privacy policy, logging out, and things of that nature. So coming into the dropdown, or the sidebar rather, you have 5 icons: home, my account, manage users, privacy policy, log out. If you click home, it takes you to the home page. So let's go over here. Let's click home. Oh, maybe not. All right, that's a bug. So home takes you to the home page. My account takes you to the account page. This is actually a new page, so if you click home, that's what's happening. Really, all these pages are considered home, so that needs to be fixed. Oh, look at that. So I refreshed. Let's go ahead and refresh. So the devices are sleeping. This device has a different bedtime than the other, but the devices are sleeping. They're in sleep mode. It is a red flag day. So that actually is pretty interesting. It gives you an idea of the different states. So these devices, this device has to be set with the same bed wake time. It must have a different one. But as you can see, the orbs are gray. Well, they were just yellow a minute ago and red and green. Why are they gray? Because the device is in sleep mode, and you can tell that by the status saying sleeping. So the light is technically off, and the gray symbolizes that the light is off. But if you were to come in here, you can see that DWC is still NWS, WQ is still green, and NWS is still red. So the values are still there. It's still keeping track of the fact that NWS is red. However, because it's between 10 and 8 a.m., it's in its sleep mode, so it turned off. And this is Eastern time, or Central time. I'm in Eastern time, so it is 10:07 in this time zone, and the devices have gone off. So again, coming back into the sidebar, my account. This is an administrative account for SwimSmart. It would have your username. You can put in a first and last name, an email, phone number, and a title. This is valuable if you have cross-departmental or intergovernment or multi-stakeholder collaboration under one app where not everyone's on the same page, and it's good to have everyone's information in here. If you click at the bottom, update info, you can change your information and click confirm. And if you click change password, it will have you enter your current password and a new password. If you don't know your password, you won't even be able to get in the app unless you have Remember Me clicked on, and then you'd have to go to the home screen and click recover to get a new password. Coming back to the sidebar, clicking manage users, you'll now be able to see the different users in the account. In this case, there are 3 users. There is the admin. The admin is a permanent account that the password can only be changed by SwimSmart, and the admin can never be deleted, and the admin has max permissions. So the admin is an account that is meant strictly for account management purposes. We do not recommend using the admin account as a daily account. We recommend using it only to create new accounts and manage those accounts. We recommend creating new accounts, which at the bottom there you see add user. If you click add user, you can pick an account name and then an email. The first and last name, I believe, are optional, but I would recommend adding them. But it will send an email, a series of steps on how to create the account, and that account name and temporary password sent to that email will allow you to log in, and then it'll prompt you to reset your password and then log in as normal. And then your account's ready to go. So these little notepad with the pencil looking icon and a trash can icon. The trash can icon is how you delete a account, and then the pencil is how you edit the permissions. Now, as the admin, you can edit anyone's permissions except yourself. Your permissions cannot be changed. Access denied. You do not have sufficient permissions because the admin cannot be downgraded. The admin is always going to have max permissions. However, these other accounts, if you click the pencil icon, you see 4 strange looking characters there. Those are the device IDs. So those are the 4 different devices. And then it says light operation. Well, if you click this, read only, light operation, and administrator. What that means is if you're set to read only, you cannot access config 1. If you're set to light operation, you cannot access config 2. If you're set to admin, you can access everything. So what does that mean? Let's go back to the home screen. Let's say you are read only. You can only access this page. You cannot click the gear icon. If you are a light operation user, you can click the gear icon and you can access this page and you can set the light. But you cannot reset the device. So the reset button is disabled. You cannot enter config 2, which is this configure button. You cannot enter this page and reconfigure the device. So administrators are really meant for diagnosing devices, installing devices, managing accounts, things like that. Light operations meant for just people operating the account. And then read only is people that really shouldn't be messing with the lights at all, but want to see the information. Back to manage users, clicking the pencil icon, that covers that section for device permissions, but then there's user permissions. So what user permissions allows you to do is it allows you to basically create new admins by assigning permissions. So the original admin _ 109528 is the administrator that cannot be changed. However, you can actually create new administrators that have full permissions irrespective of the set in stone administrator. So if you come down here and slide these on, you allow this account to create additional users, to edit users, to remove users. So now you have the ability to create a second administrative account where now you don't have to use admin _ 109528. You can use your own admin, but you can also restrict sub accounts. Let's say it's a student intern or a lifeguard or somebody where you really don't want them adding and removing accounts. You can restrict that access as well. Then, of course, the little trash can icon will delete it. I'm not going to delete any accounts, but that allows you to delete them. And again, you need the permissions. So you cannot click if you don't have the permissions and you click the icon, it will show access denied. So just keep that in mind. If they don't have the permissions, it'll say access denied, and same with clicking for the device pages as well. The little refresher here is essentially the same thing that the device refresher is, but this just refreshes the accounts, the users within the account. Coming back to the dropdown, the last page here is privacy policy. This is required per App Store requirements, so you're welcome to read through that. And that's really about it. The logout button allows you to log out, takes you back to the home screen. Again, because I have Remember Me on this device clicked, it will keep my credentials in. If I were to click that off and sign out, it would be blank. This concludes the app demonstration of the SwimSmart Beach Commander. If you have any other questions or need support, please contact support@swimsmarttech.com. Thank you.